grab one of the balls first. So this is the part of the melt kit, and this is one of the balls for the feet, and you can also use it for your hands. So put that ball
if you're
down.
watching and you want to follow along, could somebody use something, I don't know, like a tennis ball?
No, it's small, but if you had if it's this, so a tennis ball would be too big and too hard.
Got it.
So you want something a little softer and a little smaller, so like a Kadima ball or one of those paddle balls that you use at the beach, or even if you had like a little, a ball that you use with your dog, like a little toy, as long as it's soft, and just make sure that there's no phthalates or toxic chemicals in them. Be mindful about what you're rubbing on your body, so there's no latex and there's no toxic chemicals in the balls that we use. So if you put the ball down, in Melt we do a reconnect, which is an assessment technique, and you can go to our site to learn all about those things. But some of the really easy things to do is if you put this ball right at the center of your foot and you just squash it like a grape. So you just kind of go back and forth. I always say it's kind of like a cat getting comfortable on a spot. And you just kind of compress the ball in the middle of your foot and just move your joints around. It actually helps your brain figure out where your pelvis and your center of gravity is in relationship to your feet. And that can actually decrease back and neck pain entirely by helping your brain kind of connect to where your body is. And then if you put the ball just in front of your heel, all you need to do is keep consistent pressure. And there's 3 compression techniques in Melt called gliding, shearing, and rinsing. We do it with the balls, and we also do it with the roller. So if you keep your knee a little soft and you just swagger the ball all the way to the back of your heel, and then you work your way back. This prepares connective tissue without going too deep, too fast. And I think a lot of women know, like, their feet kind of get tender around the heel from the shoes we wear.
I can feel this, but it's not an uncomfortable pain. It's just, I feel like something's telling me I'm very tight in this area.
Well, and that's something to kind of notice, Jacqueline, because like for me, it feels great because I do it all the time. But if your feet are tender when you're rubbing a ball under your foot, you want to do this. So now this technique is called shearing. It's kind of like when you wash your hair, you don't just slap shampoo on your head, you kind of scrub it, and you make bubbles, and that's very similar to connective tissue. It's like you increase the volume of space fluid can occupy. And then it's kind of like working fluid into a sponge, and then you compress and you squeeze it, just like you would a sponge. You kind of squeeze out all the old juice, and then you rinse it. You push from your toe to your heel in one direction. So think of this as like rinsing is kind of like putting your hand in a tub of water, and if you spin the water in one direction and you take your hand out of the tub,
more coordinated. It's clear.
It's practice.
It's clear that you
it's
have
like
done
anything.
This 1 or 2 times.
Self-care. I always say self-care is the best care, but it's also something that we're unaware of. We don't really know how to do it until somebody teaches you, and then it's just practice. And then the last one is just really lightly. You could even rub your foot with the ball, and this kind of stimulates the lymphatic system, which is the fluid.
Feels good.
The blood. I know it feels nice, right?
I'm gonna do this under my desk.
The crazy thing. That's it exactly. Is that you could be cooking and doing this. Now, the crazy thing about it is if you put your feet side by side for a second and just close your eyes and start to notice your legs, you might actually notice that not only does your foot feel different,
it does,
but you might even notice that your legs feel a little different just from stimulating the fluid flow, because connective tissue has that elastic property. So can you get a sense of the difference in your legs?
Yes, I almost feel like my body feels more stable on this side.
More into the ground, right?
Yeah, and the middle of my foot actually feels more rooted on this side. I feel like my arch seems high. I mean, I could be making this up, but that's how it feels.
That's exactly right. What she's saying, is that as the fluid stimulates through the tissue, it's going to mobilize the joints. So just remember, a little glide, just a simple back and forth, and you work all the way over your heel. Yeah, exactly. So here's the secret of the glide, is consistency of pressure. So Jacqueline's ball flying out is you not keeping consistent pressure. But that's, again, the secret of it. And then there's the shear, that tightening of the wiggle. You compress and wait. And then you rinse it from toe to heel.
Love it.
And so that's easy to do. So this, to me, especially for the holidays, you guys who are wearing stilettos and high heels, always a great thing to do is to stimulate your feet. Now, the other thing we talked about was, if you're having to travel and you're in a car, I don't know about you guys, but it stresses me out to drive in a car because people do not know how to drive, and I become white-knuckled on the steering wheel, and it causes a lot of tension in your neck. So a couple of things. Come on down here. So we can do the same thing that we just did, and we could even make this easier for us and sit here on this. So there's 3 techniques that we just did, right? So we did, and actually a good assessment, if you guys put your hands up like this, if your hands drop back, they should make a letter T. If your fingers are kind of making a V, a W, or your fingers coil back, I would say it's kind of like wearing a size 4 pair of jeans when you should be wearing a size 8. You've literally lost the elastic property in the tissue. So you want to kind of get a sense of what your position is to begin with. And then just what we did before. before, you could take the ball in between your hands. And I do this actually on airplanes because I don't know about you, but like I get bloated. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So you go back and forth, you kind of bring your fingers together and you squash it at the base of your hand and you see if you can coordinate the back and forth motion. So just like what we did on our feet. Then at your thumb, you create the little shear. And this is great, again, if you guys are going to be, working in the kitchen.
Right.
With the heavy
all
pans,
that chopping motion.
It hurts my hands, doesn't it? My thumbs.
Bags up the stairs for guests.
Exactly. Or just again, carrying luggage, things like that. And then same thing, once you do the shear, you compress and wait. And then you can either rinse on the back of your hand. So if you put the ball down and you kind of push it over your fingers, that's one way to rinse, down the fingers. And ladies, your connective tissue is mostly made up of collagen. And I know that some of you guys are going to immediately want to put the ball to your face because of that, which we do have a facelift treatment. So that's one way to go. And then again, if you're going to be doing things like cooking, working up your forearm is also a great one to do because it'll draw the fluid back up to your neck. And that's another great one to work on, is just to make sure that you keep the connective tissue elastic and hydrated.
How long on each side would you spend doing each of these?
Literally what we just did. It would take you literally 2 minutes to do a hand treatment. And again, I do it really at the kitchen table. I do a little glide, a little shear, rinse it, and then just get back to my work. So that's an easy one to do. So then the other thing is, if you're sitting in an airplane, they are not ergonomically efficient with our body alignment. I think we all kind of realize that. So if you take the roller, and again, I do this, I told you, I do this in the Delta Sky Miles Lounge. So if you put the roller right around the bra line, so you want to kind of, if you bring one arm up and you find the bottom of your shoulder blade, the bottom of your shoulder blade should be on your side of the roller. And you kind of scoop your pelvis under so the back of the pelvis stays heavy. You bring your hands behind your head and you just try to create a little rib length, and just take a breath in here. And then exhale and come back up into flexion. And I'm going to help you on this one, Jacqueline.
Great.
So if you keep the bottom of the ribs heavy, exactly, and you just extend over the ribs, then take another breath in here. And on an exhale, we're going to side bend the ribs. So you're going to come over here. And then take a breath into that ribs. And then come on back to the center. Again, same thing, take a breath in. And then exhale and side bend the other way. So doing things like this, can you get that nice pull on the sides of your ribs when you do that? So we don't really think about it, but a lot of neck tension actually comes from the tightness in the ribs. And if you're sitting in a really
such a small motion,
that's right,
but I feel it.
Yeah, exactly. And that little tensional pull in breathing actually will help your body to, again, just kind of restore its position. And then things that we just did with the balls, like gliding on your back and just giving the back a little bit of prep. And then same thing, setting your hips down and making a teeny tiny side bend. That's another way, again, to create shearing. And we can do that on the shoulders. This is part of the upper body compression sequence. And you can just do so much just on your back and on your ribs that can actually,
it feels good. It's like a little massage you're giving yourself.
It is like a little massage. And then the other one is doing stuff on the base of your skull. So if you lie on your side and you bring the roller onto your side and just, I call this my half back pose. So kind of gazing up at the ceiling and creating these little small circles on the base of the skull. Once you hydrate your ribs, working on the base of the skull is oftentimes one of the best things we can do to to alleviate some of the compression. And you can see how she's, instead of, bring your head up for a second and then come on back down. So what we want to do is make sure that we keep the pressure on the skull and not on your neck. So remember the idea of the victim. Don't compress the spaces, only compress the masses. And then, you can do that all around the base of the skull. You could even go onto a flat back and do the same thing right at the base of your skull. Just create those little figure 8 motions. And again, it helps to coordinate movement, it challenges our body, and it just keeps some of the hydration back into the neck. And in MELT, you learn the 4 R's. So this would be the rehydrate techniques. And then if you bring the roller a little more onto the back of your head, and you just really subtly nod your nose down, and then lift your chin back up on exhales, you can actually decompress your own vertebra. So it's a really tiny motion. Exactly. So you take the breath in here, And then on the exhale, keep your pressure constant and nod your nose down. And you'll kind of feel how that sort of tractions through your neck, almost like somebody's pulling your ponytail. And then you take another breath in, and then you bring your head back up. So what you're trying to do is keep your shoulders relaxed and just mobilize at the head. And that will also bring the fluid back up to the neck. And again, for a lot of us who are, traveling, you're driving in a car, you get super tense in your neck, and suddenly you got neck and shoulder problems, and you're wondering what it's coming from. It might just be the driving.
I notice that it's hard for me to not engage my shoulder. I'm probably holding so much tension all the time.
That's it. And so again, just even to move the vertebra up in this upper part of our neck, if they're very stiff and locked out, our brain keeps thinking, I got to move from my shoulders. I got to get my shoulders to move to create that head nod. And so just coordinating these tiny movements can actually let loose those vertebra in the upper part of the neck and really decrease a tremendous amount of tension.
We have some work to do in that area.
Exactly. And then what about sitting all day, right? So if you plop your butt right up onto the top of the roller and you just roll over your sit bones, again, if you're sitting all day long, not only can this lead to back pain and all the tension in our back, but it also is a key culprit to cellulite, my friends. So in the wintertime when we're getting a little bit lazy and, just sitting on our couch and at work.
4 days for me, I'm telling you. I just to have something like this, I'm watching TV, the Harry Potter marathon, and instead of sitting on the couch, I could have been doing something
That's
like
right.
this.
I mean, people are literally sitting 13 hours a day these days, and it's a lot. So if you kind of open up your knee and you try to actually swirl all around your hip, these are areas that connective tissue can become significantly stiff and dehydrated, and it can destabilize your pelvis, and that can lead to not only back and hip problems, but more troublesome things like incontinence and pelvic pain and things like that. So just doing some of this gliding, just like we did with the ball, and then sitting on a spot, and then just opening and closing the leg is called a shear. So again, an easy way to restore fluid to the tissue. You just sustain the compression, and you either move a joint or you move your body over the roller. So if the roller stays still and you move, that's a shear. And all of the techniques are very simple. It's not like as if it's hard to do, and you can do it anywhere. I mean, I love the performance roller because I can bring it with me when I travel. Same thing on the back of my legs. I could work on just hydrating the back of my legs just with this nice twisting action. And keep your heel down on the ground. So almost,
heel, got it.
So here's the secret of, again, shearing is the lazier you get, the more relaxed you are, the deeper the compression will be. And you don't need to scratch at your tissue or compress it to hurt your body. You actually want to twist the tissue and see if you can stimulate that tissue to create that reaction of fluid exchange from cell to cell.
It's nice to hear a fitness professional say, the lazier you get, it's actually better for you.
It is, I know. Am I the only person who would probably say that? But when it comes to compressing tissue, the whole secret is the more relaxed you stay. If I tense up my leg and I rub, I think I'm pressing harder, but I'm getting less deep because I'm contracting muscle against the thing I'm trying to penetrate
Really
through.
want to have that dead weight.
Exactly. And you might even feel it. Like if you squeeze your thigh and you rub, you'll feel one thing. And then if you let it go really relax, you'll sort of get more of that twisting and grabbing. And that's really the secret of restoring some of the fluid flow in the tissue. These are just simple things, again, I think to help people to eliminate some of the compression and pain. And then the other thing is, you're talking about exercise. I think sometimes we think, gosh, I didn't get to the gym today. Oh, well, I'll just have to wait till tomorrow. And I say, why can't you just do even 2 minutes of exercise in your house? Why not give that a go and see if you can help yourself? And one of the things we love are resistant bands. And here's a great one. If you sit up on your roller and you just kind of grab a band somewhere around your shoulders width, and you put your forearms onto your thighs, and all you're looking to do is see if you can keep your body nice and upright and just pull on the band and hold it there. And you'll start to feel your shoulders start to really fire, right? I mean, you don't really have to do very much. And then keep the tension and just start to swagger the arms back and forth. And again, these are some of the lazy muscles in the back that cause a lot of slouching. They get destabilized. And so again, if I just sit here for 60 seconds and do a little bit of work. At least I'm doing something for
World's
myself.
easiest
Easiest
upper body
exercise.
toning.
and then same thing, if I hold my arms out and I give that band a nice pull, and I just hold here and I just slowly return, and again, 8 to 10 repetitions is all it's going to take, I can actually reestablish some strength in my shoulders. My heart rate's going to increase. That's going to increase blood flow, and I'm going to get a nice upper back workout, and I'm going to try to train the muscles that tend to become inhibited and weak because of the poor postures that we take, especially during the times when you're traveling and stressed out. You know, people just sit like this all day long, the tech neck and everything. So get yourself out of it. And then again, once you have that, just even taking your arms up and down, great easy way to strengthen the upper back. I mean, you can feel it, right?
I feel this. I'm trying to play it cool over here, but
right? I mean, in an instant, you can, you know, kind of give yourself a little bit of a training day. And the other one is, you know, we're all complaining about our abdominals. So what about a simple plank? So you want to give a plank a try?
Do it.
So I'm going to show it to you, and then you're going to see if you can do this one, Jacqueline. So you're going to take the roller and you place it right. This is what we call the assisted plank. So you bring it right underneath the center of your pelvis. So you're kind of already in the plank. So you guys who think, gosh, I can't do planks, actually you might be able to here. So instead of having your arms straight ahead, if you take them to the corners of the mat like this, and once you're here, I'm going to ask you to think about keeping your nose kind of reaching toward the end of your mat and your heels reaching toward the back end. And on the count of 3, you are going to just lift your pelvis off that roller. 1, 2, 3, you're going to lift it up. Yep, and we're going to hold here. And don't come up quite so high. Come down just a little bit and hold yourself right there. And yes, exactly. She's starting to tremble.
I know, right?
So think right into the middle of your belly. Just try to bring this part of your back up. Stop right there. There it is. Hold it there. Yep, and now same thing. I want you to send your heels away, and I want you to think about your nose reaching over your fingers. So you're kind of going in 2 directions. You hold it here for about 20 seconds, and then really slowly you just set your hips down, let your hips pause, give yourself the break, so that instead of going all the way down to the floor and having your back get tight, you just pause here, and then same thing, exhaling, and we bring the hips back up again. And again, we think about the ribs lifting. There it is. Boom. Feel that tremble, yeah? And again, 20 seconds, you just try 2 times. Great stability, brings blood flow back to the body. You have to breathe a little bit. And now if I ask you to hold here and just rock her forward and back. Yeah, and then go back, and then go forward, and then go back. Hold yourself there, and then go ahead and release the legs down. And now if you bring your knees down to the ground, right from here, go ahead and bend this knee. Flex your foot, and without moving your back, I want you to try to tuck your pelvis, and I want you to see if you can get your knee off the ground, and just hold it here. Bring your knee more to the midline and lift it up again. So just hold here. Exactly, right?
Yeah,
so the cool thing about the roller is that it helps to establish better pelvic positioning so that you really get to the work where you want it. And so again, those of us who have the dead butt syndrome,
I feel this really in that, you know,
the crease.
Yes, the
right.
crease
So
of
the
the glute
lower
there.
fibers of glutes are where we end up getting really unstable. So again, the secret of this one is to keep your knee toward the midline, your heel a little out, and then all you do is lift up the leg 1 inch and pause, and then you just let the knee tap down, and then just do it again. Tiny lift and down. 2 more. Lift. And then 1 more. You're going to hold it here, and just a tiny little up and down inch. 1, 2, 3. Hold it there. Go up 1 more inch. Extend the leg now. Hold there. Yep, bring that leg more to the midline and try to lift it up 1 more inch. Hold it there.